Well, hello, 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 hello out there. How's everybody doing? This is everybody's favorite conservative in New York, Christopher Wright, here to present you one of my relaxed back and chats. And I got a very special guest with me. I call her my spiritual sister. I don't think even a close friend is even a good enough, I won't call it a title, but label for the friendship that we have. But she's been a longtime friend of mine. I've known her for about 15 years. She's, always had a strong voice. She's a life coach. But I'm going to go ahead and let her speak and kind of introduce herself and give her a little background. She can do a lot better than I can. So I'm going to go ahead and do her thing.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Quan Lanae Green. As Christopher mentioned, I am a life coach, but I'm also a lot of other things. I am an author of From Poughkeepsie to Paris, A Ghetto Girl's Journey to Becoming a Fabulous Woman. And I'm also a real estate investor. I am part owner of a luxury resort in Costa Rica. I have women's retreats every year on the resort, and it's absolutely fabulous. And we do a lot of healing work there also. And so a little bit about how Christopher and I met. We met years and years ago, like he said, over 15 years ago, and we were very young at the time, and he noticed that I was on a path to greatness, and he was like, wait, this chick, I've never met anyone like her before.
To give you guys a little background, I was working for Comcast at the time. I was actually a cable technician, as the Comcasters, cable people out there like to be called. But I was a technician for her, and I was doing the internet. I was still kind of new for the company. So when I was doing their internet and their service, I actually cut her line a little too short. So I ended up messing her internet up even worse. But, we ended up having a great conversation regardless. And I ended up getting another technician to come later on to kind of after me to take care of it. But, while I was there, we ended up having like just small talk to a really nice, long conversation. And she had a dream wall. And I kind of let her explain what that is. Exactly, but she caught my attention when I met her.
Absolutely. So he came to fix my cable and internet, and he noticed this huge dream and vision wall, this board that I had on my wall. And he was like, whoa, what is that? And I was just telling him about manifesting the things that I want in my life. I was talking to him about my dreams, about my goals, about my visions. And he was like, whoa, I've never seen anything like this before. And so hence my being a life coach now. Earlier in those days, I had no idea that it was even in me. It was just, I just knew what I wanted, and I had a vision about how to go about doing it. And 15 years later, we are here. And I think on that vision board, it was something about having great friends, which Christopher is one. There was things about meeting Oprah and traveling, which I've done. I haven't met Oprah yet, but I've traveled extensively and gotten a little bit into politics, and I wanted my spiritual life to be in order. So all those things were on my vision board way back when I met Christopher. He took notice of it and was like, I need this friend in my life. Fast forward to today, here we are. And Christopher, I just have to say thank you so much for being such a great friend over the years. My family loves you, my husband and my children. You're Uncle Chris. You're my brother at this point, and I'm
everybody's your uncle.
so blessed and so grateful to have you in my life. And thank you for having me on your live today.
No, I appreciate you taking your time out of your day. You got a busy schedule with 3 kids, so she's she mentioned all this other stuff she does around where she's at now. Very busy woman, but she's a full-time mother as well.
Yes.
So it's she has 3 great kids, and I love them to death. Every time I come to visit, I hang out and have a good time with them, and they call me Uncle Chris, and it's all love. They're a good family, and I wanted to get her to come on because we would always talk in the past. Like, we'll have long conversations, and we would just get deep conversations about everything, from politics to music to we call it deep state now. Back then, the Illuminati, as some people may say. I was the conspiracy theorist in me, and I still consider myself. You want to say conspiracy theorist, but I just somebody who looks deeper into things, and the CIA considers that as conspiracy theorist. But that's a whole different ballgame. But you know, we just kind of connected with that stuff initially. Her and her husband Najib, who's a good man as well, and you know, we would sit down and talk about this kind of stuff. And when I started seeing those things come to the forefront, that's when I started getting on social media more and talk politics more, because I saw it was kind of intertwining with what my daily routine is. So Quan was the person that kind of reached out to me initially. And when but first, you know, she saw me going on a rant one time on Facebook, and I was just going off.
Let's tell the whole story. So the whole story is this. Christopher has always been a conspiracy theorist, and that's part of the reason why we connected, because I am sort of a conspiracy theorist as well. And I look into things, I read into things. I'm like, wait, what is the meaning behind the meaning behind the meaning? And who's behind this? I need to dig deeper. And so we connected on that level. He's always been into watching. Do you remember staying up to like 3, 5 o'clock in the morning watching YouTube videos about the Illuminati?
Of course. And I'm so glad we have a president now that lives in the deep state, because before when I call Illuminati, people get that look like, what are you talking about? But now there's a name where you can say, okay, the president has given a label called a deep state. So now when you say you don't look like a crazy person, so people are willing to listen to what you have to say afterwards, and then you hit them with the facts, and they're like, oh wow, that's interesting.
Right. So, well, speaking of the president, so you know we used to talk about politics all the time, and I got so tired, you guys, of hearing Christopher rant about political subjects, and politicians, and he was always involved in it. And I kept saying to him, you know, Chris, you're so angry, and it was a good anger. It was a righteous indignation, what the Bible calls it, and it was a very great anger. And I would say, Chris, all the time, do something about it. Do something with this anger, with this passion that you have about what's going on in the world and in our country politically. So finally, you called me one day out of the blue and was like, Quan, I'm thinking about doing videos. I'm thinking about doing interviews. And I always said, Chris, you have such a great voice. You should use your voice. And so long story short, he called me one day. He said, there's this group. Remember the WalkAway group, the WalkAway campaign, and I'm thinking about, you know, doing some things with it. And I encouraged him to do it. I said, you have this. This is your thing. I think that you'll find your tribe, you'll find your people, and go for it. And he said, well, I'm thinking about doing walk and talks. And I said, yes, do it. Like, we're done thinking about it. Go for it. Do it. And he did it that very same day. And now Christopher has blown up tremendously. Chris, I think you have more followers than I do. I think you have like 100,000 followers, subscribers, and I'm like, dang. You know,
I learned from the best. I learned from the best. What can I say? You know,
it's really a testament about what can happen when you take great advice, when you take great coaching, and when you act on the things that you are passionate about. Christopher, I'm so freaking proud of you. I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy that you did it. We need more people in the world like you who take massive action and really go for the things that you are passionate about, the things that anger you, the things that rise up within you. Speak about it. Talk about it. You will find your tribe when you did it, when you do it just like Christopher did. Thank you, Christopher. Had to add that. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I was going to let it go. Let it flow. Let it go. Let it out. You know, because, you know, you tell Quan, you know, she's full of positive energy, and that's why she's a great life coach. And I'm recommending people out there, any ladies out there listening, you know, or even I don't know, even the fellas looking for some life coaching, feel free to reach out to her. You can click on her name here, and you know, link to her Facebook. But you know, the main thing, it was funny because she told me, like, you know, I should start doing videos, and it made a lot of sense. And the first thing she said, because I was like, I didn't even take pictures at the time that much, really. She's like, just, you know, you take the bus home from work, because, you know, I got rid of my vehicle moving to New York and everything like that. So when I was on the bus on the way home from work, she just said, you know, just don't have your headphones on and listen to like what's going on, the commotion. And just when you're off the bus, just walk and tell me what you saw, and I'll tell you what I think. So I was like, all right, sure. So when I got off the bus, I just, you know, when I was on the bus, I saw two young ladies on there with their daughter, and they were getting arguing with the girl on the phone, and ended up, you know, getting off at the next stop and going to, you know, getting a fight with this girl, and they were cussing, all kinds of crazy stuff. And, you know, the little girl was even trying to say a few cuss words when the time they got off the bus. And I just pretty much said, this, you know, something interesting to say. So I just told that story walking home from work. And I sent it to her and I said, you know, what do you think? Be honest. And she's like, oh my gosh, it was great. She's like, I was laughing. You know, there was part of me, I was really interested in what you had to say. You know, you had like all these different elements in one. And I was like, come, no, seriously, like, what'd you think? And she's like, no, it was great. It was wonderful.
You killed it. It was amazing.
Yeah. So, you know, and it's funny how God works is because, you know, God has always used vessels in my life, you know, to reach and connect with me and get certain paths in life and certain steps in life I'll take with a lot with God's help. And I was, you know, praying about this and saying, hey, you know, God, you know, I'm on Facebook. At that time, I lost a lot of my family and friends because I was a big Trump supporter. So my Facebook friends list was like 130, 140 people. So I was like just praying like, God, like, you know, just let me use my voice for something. Am I doing the right thing? Am I wasting my time and wasting my, you know, just point me in the right direction. So a couple days later, me and Quan had this conversation. I did the video. She enjoyed it. And then the next day, I saw Brandon Straka's WalkAway video when he was telling his testimony of how he walked away from the Democratic Party. Shout out to Brandon Straka. Hey, what's up, Brandon Straka, my man. So, you know, so after, you know, Brandon did his video, he did at the very end, he said, look, anybody else has a walkaway story, send it to me and I'll put it on my Facebook page or my Twitter feed, whatever you use, share it to me on. So I went ahead and just did a walkaway video while I left the Democratic Party. It was in 2016 officially. You know, in 2012, I was already looking, but in 2016, I officially made the decision to vote for Donald Trump and vote Republican. So I just told like the story about, you know, the situation where when I was younger and I was a Democrat, how 2012, I started looking at the Republican Party for the first time with Herman Cain and Ron Paul. The media lied on them and messed up their chances. Then in 2016, I looked at Dr. Ben Carson. The media lied again. And then I supported Trump and then I voted for him. And the rest is history. So that is like the, you know, the whole situation, how everything started. But when I was going these rants on Facebook, you know, it was only like 130, 40 of my friends left. And Quan said, like, you know, do the video. And then once I did the walkaway video, it went viral and my Facebook blew up. And that's when I got a lot of my friends list. So people sent me friend requests, you know, fighting me to different groups and events and rallies in the city and all kinds of stuff. And, you know,
took off like a rocket.
Yes, yes. So, you know, it was a lot of fellow patriots out there, and then that I got their attention, and a lot of it was this young woman's help here, Quan Lanae Green. So, you know, she's been a good friend for years, and it's funny. The main reason I even moved to New York in the first place because I was in Florida before I moved here. I was down there for 2 years, and I stopped in Georgia before I came to New York. And I was talking with her when I was hanging out at her house, hanging out with her family, you know, talking with kids and everything like that. And, you know, I was thinking about staying in Georgia because I was down in Georgia for 5 years prior to that, you know. So I lived in Georgia for a few years. My family's from Georgia. I was born in Hinesville, Georgia, on a military base. So all kinds of connections down in Georgia. So I was like, you know what, I think I might stay. And then the next day, you know, and me and her always talked about this. God's always spoken to her through her dreams, via dreams. Yeah. So the next day she came downstairs and she just told me she had a dream that she saw me in New York, and it was something political. And she was there and Quan was there with me, helped me out. We were working together. And she says, a very interesting dream. As soon as she said that dream, I said, well, okay, I'm moving to New York. And she's like, well, no. You don't have to move to New York. You can stay, you know, stay here and everything's cool. And I'm like, no. You know, we always spoke about this years ago. And we still talk about to this day that, you know, God speaks to you via dreams. And if you're saying you have a dream of me being in New York, doing something political based, well, I'm going to New York. So that's the main reason why I moved to New York. And now we'll see where we're at now. So this is funny how God works. And, you know, he uses vessels with me, dreams with Quan. But, you know, he has, and he uses our president, who I call our modern King Cyrus, is where he stands. So he's, you know, we're all kind of working together. That's why, you know, Trump, you know, is coming out doing what he's doing recently, what I mentioned in past videos. So we're all working together here, and it's all God's will. And that's the main reason why I wanted to do today's video with my good friend Quan here, and, you know, a lot of other patriots that I can link up with, because, you know, we just want to get God's word out there the best we can. And since we're in quarantine, we're not going to let that stop us from speaking the truth and, you know, spreading the word.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. So Quan, so, you know, what do you know, what's now when it comes to, you know, you and your family and everything like that, what is your stance? Because, I'm a conservative, and, I know I don't want to go too deep into politically, but I know traditional Christian family values is very important to you.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the idol pieces to conservatism. So you would say that's a main component. You would probably think that, that kind of have you leaning towards that. I mean, President Trump, is a good leader, of course, but, it's not just that. He's not perfect. No human's perfect, but, he's, the ideology itself, that's what I kind of stick with, because that's what got me into on conservatism and to the right. It wasn't necessarily the politics, but just the values.
Yeah, absolutely. Values, beliefs. I'm a conservative no matter who's in office. It's just how I live my life. I'm a Christian. I love God. I love Jesus Christ. I raise my children to do the same. My husband and I both. We believe in less government. And I didn't always. So I mentioned my book at the top of this, right? And in my book, I talk about my transition from ghetto to fabulous. I talk about my transition from Poughkeepsie, which is a small town in upstate New York, to Paris, which was the very first international destination I've ever traveled to. So I talk about my transition, and then I talk about my mindset. So when I was in Poughkeepsie, when I was in the ghetto, mentally, I didn't care about the government being so much in my life, because I depended on the government. I relied on the government. But the more I became successful, the more I grew financially and socially and social economically, I began to think to myself, well, I don't need the government. I have my own money. If something goes wrong, I have a nest egg, I have a cushion. So I don't need the government to tell me or to give me money. I don't need the government to tell me how to raise my children. I have a very great handle on how to raise my children. I don't need the government telling me how to do that. I don't need the government telling me how to raise my children or to even give me health care. And that's not to say that I'm looking down on people who need those things. There's a time and a place for that. And I'm not judging anyone, but the more I grew, the more less government I depended on and became independent of the government. So there's a conservative value right there. I believe in gun ownership.
Wow.
I do. Absolutely.
Especially being in the South, you see it firsthand when you're down in Georgia. When I was down there for 5 years, and I was a cable man, cable technician for 5 years when I was down there as well. So I saw a lot of people in all age ranges, older, younger, 18 or up. They had a shotgun by the door a lot of times, and they let you know doesn't mean they were 18 or 95. They let you know they know how to use it and protect themselves. So and it wasn't about showing off, and it wasn't about bragging. It wasn't about anything like that. It was just strictly for self-defense, protection. So you learn the South really quick.
People use guns recreationally, right? When you think about hunters, going into the woods, going into the forest and hunting, So, and I respect that. Although I'm not a hunter, that is not it's not a part of my culture. I live in the suburbs. I don't live in rural America, but I respect that, So there's a lot of reasons why I'm conservative, and even with my friends, I really love, and I mentioned this in my WalkAway video as well, loving my conservative friends. Just somehow or another, we connect more on this level, where when I was in Poughkeepsie, or when I was living ghetto mentally, I seem to have more Democratic friends. And that's not to say, before you all start sending me hate mail, no, not all Democrats or are ghetto or live in the hood, or just personally, a lot of my friends are conservative. And I don't know why that is. I don't even spend a lot of time trying to figure that out. All I know is that the people that are good to me, the people that I do business with, the people that I socialize with, tend to be more conservative, not politically, but mentally and in their hearts. They tend to think the same way I do. And so I really appreciate that. And I love my Democrat friends as well. We have a really great time.
Yeah. I mean, it's, the main thing with me here, first time I voted Republican in my life was for Trump. And when I voted for Trump as a Republican, I didn't vote for him and I say to myself, for the rest of my life, I'm going to be a Republican. I just said, hey, Trump, I'm taking, you're the candidate I'm choosing. Get out there and do what a good president's supposed to do, and hold it down. And if you do a good job, I'm going to vote for you again. But if you do a bad job, then I'll consider voting Democrat in 4 years. But when I supported Trump, I saw the left. They kind of left me in the dust. They went even more left, more radical left.
Yeah.
And when I saw that happen, it just got to the point where they were already left, and I was already left at the time. And then when I voted Republican, they just left me where I was at when it went way further left. So, that was a huge, huge problem.
And I've experienced that as well, Chris. And it's so sad. How could you be a friend, right, or a family member, and when you find out who somebody voted for, or that somebody is a conservative or a Republican, and then you just leave them in the dust? You just disconnect from them, you distance yourself from them just because they voted for a particular person, or just because they want to go in another direction politically. Where's the love in that? Where's the loyalty in that?
She nailed it right there, folks. I absolutely agree with her. I have, I don't want to put people's names out there or anything like that, but I have family members who, after Trump, not even before Trump won the election, when we were just going back and forth debating with each other, they cut me off after just a couple of heated debates and turned to arguments. And after that, my family members cut me off, and some hadn't spoken to me since. And some, once Trump got elected, a few others dropped off. I had family members dropping off like flies, and friends, childhood friends. That's what kills me when people say to me, when especially the Black community, when I debate them in politics, they go to that whole Uncle Tom, you're a coon, that whole, blah, 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 stereotypical BS that they spew without even know who I am. And when they do that, I'm like, I grew up in Maryland, which is just as blue, if not more blue than New York. And all my friends who were white were Democrats. Like, I didn't have white friends growing up who were a lot of Republicans. Like, even if they, might have had conservative values, just being in a blue state, you just assumed, everybody just votes Democrat, And so when I got into heated arguments, it wasn't just my family members; it was childhood friends of mine who were a lot of them were white friends.
Let me let you in on something. If they could treat you that way after they find out that you voted for Trump, or even if you voted for Obama, who cares, right? If they could treat you that way, then they never really loved you to begin with. That is my stance on that. So, Chris, I don't want to get really into politics because you're gonna have my wig on the floor. But
we're not going to. Yeah, we don't want to go too deep into politics. We just kind of just wanted to speak to the people. The important part of the day is I'm just want to put God first. Because without Him, none of this would be possible. I asked and I received, and Quan was one of those vessel pieces that helped me with the receiving. So I had to, eventually get her to come on and do this, do a show with me. I was going to do a show with her. I had her come on Fox News, and what I'll do, I'll post a link for the video where she did a little interview for Fox News, and I reached out to her down in Georgia and had her come up to New York. She flew up here, and she did, a little clip on Fox. And while she was up here, we spent time together, and I was going to do a video with her the next day, but I was feeling really sick. I couldn't even get out of bed. I was feeling terrible. I never get sick. So for me to get sick, it's like, it just always throws me off. And now they're saying, it was early March. And I mentioned this in my past videos. That's where I said, I don't know if it was COVID or not, because later on they said that people in New York had cases dating back to January, possibly. So, early March, I was real sick. I don't know if that's what it was or not, but I had, just feeling real under the weather. So, it's just something that, that's why I pretty much, when you see a lot of my videos, I don't have the mask on, but I'm always separated from people a lot of times. I social distance and all that good stuff. But, I'm not living in fear. I have faith over fear is the key for me. And that's how I live my life. And, God's protected me very well thus far. So I'm going to continue on it.
Fox 5, and I was very grateful to Fox 5 for having me on. And I'm also very grateful for Brandon Straka, who reached out to me concerning Fox 5, and reached out to Christopher asking, do you know anybody, a strong African-American conservative that might be interested in coming on to Fox 5? And so I'm so glad, and I really don't think that they gave him much credit for putting it all together. Even with the New York Post, I was in the New York Post before Fox 5. And so thank you, Brandon Straka. All of you who know Brandon Straka, tag him and give Brandon Straka a shout out for me, because I love him and he's done so many things for us. So thank you for that.
You're amazing, Brandon.
I have to run, my friend. I think I hear my newborn crying in the next room. So let me go assist her dad with her. But I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for you for putting this together. Shout out to all of your followers. I noticed like you have some diehard, very loyal followers. So shout out to them. And if anyone wants to follow me, you can send me a friend request on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram at Quan Lanae Green. And let's connect. Again, the name of my book is From Poughkeepsie to Paris, A Ghetto Girl's Journey to Becoming a Fabulous Woman. It's about my
great book, by the way. Great book. I enjoyed the book a lot. I read the book, a great book.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Christopher, I love you.
I love you too. It's always a pleasure, Quan. Thank you for taking time out of your day. Tell the family I said hello, and tell the little one I said hello. I know she's just waking up and everything. So
yes,
it's good to hear from you.
You as well, Chris. I'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right. And God bless everybody out there listening.
Bye, everybody.
God bless the United States of America.
God bless the USA.
Hey, peace out.
Adios.